more things. First and foremost, I would like to welcome the guest speaker for today's workshop, Mr. Dulan Dias, the head of the Department of Information Technology of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Dr. Mahesh Fernando, all the lecturers of the Department of Information Technology, and all the participants to this fascinating workshop. Before commencing the workshop, as students of the department, we always admire taking guidance from our lecturers. So I would like to invite the head of the Department of Information Technology, Dr. Mahesh Fernando, to share his valuable thoughts with our students. It's really beneficial for the students in the department. Mahesh, sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible and can you see me on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation and good evening to you all, first of all. And the day started with the happy news. I will come to that later. And first of all, I like to thank the organizing committee to inviting the staff members and the all of us to the event. And I should thank Mr. Dulan Dias, who is joining with us from the beginning of the DHack and continuously support into the DHack and giving the guidance to our students and joining hands with the Department of Information Technology and all the staff members, those who are joining here today, as well as all the students, those who are keen to learn something and keen to join with the extracurricular activities such as DHack and joining hands with the department activities as well as with the student association activities. As I told you in the beginning, the day started with a very happy news. One of our students' team has already won international title. Those who have initiated from DHack, I am happy to say. And I believe that Dr. Lasit will give you some more information about the achievement of the student batch and the group of students, those who just joined the international event as well as in some other local events have already won different titles from the initiation that they have done from the DHack, and I should admire their effort as well as it's a kind of a good pathway which they have created for all the students in the Department of Information Technology. And from the beginning itself, I should say that all the students, those who are joining with the DHack, in the previous event was very enthusiastic and joined with these activities because why? The Department of Information Technology is not only giving the knowledge to you, but also skills and attitudes are on par with our knowledge dissemination. And as you already aware that all the activities that we are organizing and we are planning are in direction of making you a better future as students, those who are graduated from the Department of Information Technology and those who are following the pathway of the alumni members of the department. I believe they are learning things day by day and improving. And as staff members, we are always happy to see that, as well as to identify the talents of the students. And I must say that we are facing a difficult situation. As you already know that in the pandemic, we are not meeting face to face, but we'll try to keep the bridge between the department and the students always. That's why we are encouraging students to join with these events and join hands in the department and create a kind of a bridge between the your degree and the industry. That's why we are encouraging students always to learn things. As you already know that most of the activities that we are planning are into the direction of that. And I must say, the learning was earlier defined as the permanent change in the behavior, but it's not anymore identified as the permanent change in the behavior only. It's identified as learning is learning to learn. You should learn things and identify how to learn things in a better way, an easier way, as well as most remarkable way as students in the Department of Information Technology. And I am happy to see that you are organizing activities such as this and encouraging all the students and to get the family of Department of Information Technology together into activities that you are doing. And I'm always admire the work that you do as organizing committee and get the incorporation of most of the things, most of the people in the industry even are always joining hand with the department. And events such as DHack is always identified as a pathway to exhibit the knowledge of and skills of the students in the Department of Information Technology. And from the things that we have learned past, I believe the DHack 2021 would be a very enthusiastic and very thought-provoking sort of event in the future. Your planning activities that I see is good. As you are doing the third workshop, I believe the students, all the years of students from first year to the final year, they'll be learning things and getting to know things to better way, as well as to achieving a lot of different international titles in the future as initiated by the group that we have just experienced today. And I should invite all the students to join hand with DHack and improve their talents and see for the future. There's a good future if they are enjoying, if they are identifying the opportunities out there in the environment. But I'm not taking that much of time. I know there's much to learn in the evening, and believe that the evening will be very productive and you can learn a lot of things and identify ways that you can make yourself more improved in the future as graduates of Department of Information Technology. I should thank the organizing committee and for inviting me and rest of the staff to join with that event. And it's over to you. And thank you so much again.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable thoughts. These comments are certainly supportive to all our students of the department. Without further delay, let me invite Dr. Lasit Gunawardana, Senior Lecturer at the Department of Information Technology of the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, to give some valuable insights about the workshop and welcome the guest speaker for today's workshop. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tamari. Right? Yeah, thank you, Tamari. So, good evening, everyone, members of our department, students, and our obviously our key note speaker today for this workshop, Mr. Dulan Dias. So before I'll quickly just recap how DHack started around 3 years ago. So back in 2019, the Students Association was thinking of having a competition in some way as an activity. And the idea was that why don't we have an inter-university hackathon? So at that time, there was no hack that the students has previously organized. So as I was student advisor together with our department, we suggested why don't we have a competition initially for our students, and then once you get experience, you can open it out for others. So then obviously no one, I haven't participated in the hackathon, neither had any of the students. So then we need to get an idea about how to run this. It is around that time, or maybe a little, that I actually met Mr. Dulan Dias. So before I go into that, so the competition that we started in 2019 was a physical event. Last year it was online, and this year it will be probably online as the things are going on. But I think the developments, as Dr. Mahesh mentioned, are already seen, results are being seen. So the team that was first last year went on to national competition and Western Province winners. They participated in other competitions locally and also have won awards. And today, in fact, this morning at Innovation Awards in Taiwan, they were placed third. So the team, they will probably talk with you in a couple of maybe next week. So how they proceeded or how they won, what's the secret? I'm sure it'll be very useful for all of you to follow. What's DHack? That's the important point. So the first step they took towards achieving glory internationally was their idea, which they bought or which they conceived for DHack. And that's why it's important that all of you here follow the lessons, follow the advices that are given in this session. And talking about the success of DHack, I think from a resource person point of view, there is none more. The main key person over the past 2 years is with us today, Mr. Dulan Dias. So back in 2019, he conducted several workshops physically in that year in our lab, in lecture halls, to get everyone motivated. And on the day of the event also, he was there supporting the students to create that culture. So last year, by that time, there were students who had got some experience out of it. So it helped them to assist the junior batches. And this year, I think that has gone a little further. So in a way, Mr. Dulan Dias, he's connecting with us from UK today. So it's although he's connected in a way that our students have taken over, but I'm glad that he's joining with us today. So to give a background of what he has done over the past few years. So if you look, our university is compared with other universities. When you talk of technology or innovation, you have Moratuwa, Colombo, which are leading. And if I were to name one person who has innovated in ICT, there is no other name that comes into my mind than Mr. Dulan Dias. So going back a couple of years, he has participated while as an undergraduate at the university. He's from our science faculty, a graduate in computer science special degree. He has participated in numerous competitions, and I'm sure he'll be talking about this today. And moving forward, so as an innovator, he has done different projects while in his university career, different competitions nationally, won awards there, and then gone on to represent the country, and then being crowned as the best in the Asia Pacific region. So there is so that itself is quite a list of achievements as an innovator in ICT that he has. But beyond that, if you look at his achievements, he has a degree in computer science in the university. So academically, he's at the cream of the cream. He's now reading for his PhD in UK. I believe, correct me if I'm not wrong, it's at Queen's University, Belfast. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, thanks. So so he's in academic sense, he's moved on from his degree directly to the PhD program, which is, I mean, with his talent that he's shown. But beyond that, I think the other most the most let's say so anyone who's done well as an innovator can move on academically. But beyond that, what I would like to highlight here is that he is the founder and a CEO of a company which is doing very well as well. So that, I think, is a good lesson for all the undergraduates who are here today. In other words, you just don't, I mean, your talent, you don't just grow to serve someone, but you also take it up to create opportunities for others. In other words, you not only look for jobs, but you create jobs for others. And that, I think, is a great achievement within a short span of time. And his company, I know, is doing great. Even though he's in UK, I know things are being obviously within the company in IT solutions. You could do things remotely as well. So I think there's a lot for you to learn, not just from his achievements as an innovator, but as a person who has within a short span of time is gone to heights in different aspects. So I'm glad to introduce to you Mr. Dulan Dias. Over to you, Dulan, to share your experiences throughout your career as an undergraduate and beyond.
Thank you very much. So thank you.
I think Kamal, sorry, I don't know whether, sorry, Kamal, is it okay? I just hand over him, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, Dulan.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful introduction. I think it's in the evening, so good evening, everyone. So let's get this session started. So this session, I'm planning to, make this a little bit more interactive. So I expect you all to, use your chat, right? Or if you all want to talk to me, you all can unmute. I know probably that you all won't do that. But anyway, if you all, if not anyway, but I want you all to use the chat in order to communicate with me so that we can make this some sort of an interactive session, right? So let's just get started. So, right. So today we'll be discussing about hackathons and where you can get started as an undergraduate, right? Right. So first of all, before we get on to that, let me just add a little bit more onto what Dr. Lasit was saying. So first of all, I'll share with you my experiences while I was an undergraduate at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. So it was in 2014, 2015 that I joined the university. So during the first year as an undergraduate, that was the time that I first took part in a hackathon, an event called a hackathon that was organized by University of Kelaniya. So while I was in the first year, I was looking at how a lot of different things were happening around in the industry, as well as out there in the tech community, as well as within the university. So some things that I observed at that time were that there was a huge, University of Sri Jayawardenepura at that time, we just had, we didn't have this many faculties that we have at the moment. And the students who were graduating from our department, they were doing 4-year degrees, but sometimes even with that, they didn't really have a huge acceptance or a huge demand for undergraduates out there in the industry. So having a look at all this and having an eye out for what are the events happening out there in the tech community, something that came across was this competition called DHack, organized by University of Kelaniya. So just before that period at the university, at the department level as well, we wanted to bring out ideas and organize a competition around that. So we organized a competition during that time called Japura Innovator. And as soon as that was finished, we had this DHack competition, which was our first experience. So previously, the University of Sri Jayawardenepura's name, we had taken part in about 2 hackathons before I decided to take part, and we had come up to the top 15 level in one of these hackathons, and that was the background that we had when I first took part in the first hackathon experience of my life. So at DHack, what happened was we got selected to the top 15. And then we represented or we took part in the overnight hackathon. I'll explain what that is in a little while as well. So we took part in this overnight hackathon. And at the end of it, we were able to come out as the second runners-up of the whole competition or the hackathon. So this was the first victory that University of Jayadhanapura had in a hackathon. So it was our first experience and we became the second runners up. So before we became second runners up, I made sure that I did a couple of different things. I talked to the previous seniors who took part in the top 15, asked their experience, asked for their tips on what would help me win this. And I tried to get as much as possible of experience and suggestions and feedback from seniors and other people who have taken part in these sort of competitions before doing my final presentation and then moving on to becoming the second runners up. And then with this experience, we took part in another hackathon where we with the same idea and we became once again the second runners up. And now in the following year, we've returned back to HackX with a brand new idea, which was refined and defined to win a hackathon. And we were, this time we had so much of experience behind our back, and I made sure that we corrected all the mistakes that we've done previously, and we were able to emerge champions of that particular hackathon. And moving on from there, starting on from there, there have been a lot of different activities or competitions or award ceremonies organized at the university as well, which was introduced. This is where actually I was introduced to Dr. Lasit Gunawardena as well, who from there has been a pivotal point in all of the rest of the achievements that I've made so far. So with that introduction, where I met Dr. Lasit Gunawardena as a judge in one of these award ceremonies organized by the University of Jayadhanapura, which was the Japura Employability Skills Awards. Then on, Dr. Lasit approached me onto trying to make me apply for this competition called National Best Quality Software Awards, which is a national level ICT awards ceremony. So even though Dr. Lasit tried so hard to make me apply on the first on that particular year itself, I was a little bit reluctant to apply and to challenge myself in the national level at that particular year. But the following year, once again, Dr. Lasit made sure to push me. And even the night before the deadline of the application, that was when he convinced me to finally go ahead and submit an application for my National Best Quality Software Award. So this NBQSA, I think now your department is also familiar with this because of last year. I think there have been competitors, and I think there have been winners as well. So in this competition from the department, so at NBQSA, in that particular year, after this national level competition, after a couple of judging rounds, I was nominated amongst 3 undergraduates from the country, one from University of Colombo, one from University of Moratuwa, and myself from University of Jayadhanapura. We were nominated to represent Sri Lanka at the Asia Pacific ICT Alliance Awards, or in short, it's referred to as APICTA. So here we were able to represent Sri Lanka, and this idea that I applied at the last moment before the close of close of the application calling, I was able to win the gold award out of 17 countries representing in this particular competition. So that is actually how I, how my journey became in terms of hackathons to national level competitions, to international level competitions, and so forth. And if you, so in parallel to this, from the first year itself, I've always, like I told, from the first year itself, there have been events that I've been organizing, and I've been involved with a lot of, I've been looking out what is trending, what's happening out there in the tech industry, in the tech community. And I've been thinking to myself about different things that I can actually make happen out there in the society using technology. So in the second year, in rather the third year of my university life, I started my startup, which is Econ Labs Private Limited, which I started with the with the winning team of HackX 2018. So where we became champions with that particular team, I founded my StarTech startup back in the day. So there we started off There were multiple different reasons why we actually started that. So one of which was to provide experience, industry level experience to our undergraduates, so that once they graduate, they will have the right experience to directly apply to any challenging company or IT industry, anywhere in the IT industry, anywhere around the world, so that they have a solid CV, a solid profile, and a solid knowledge and experience in how to make things happen using industry level uh, tech stacks and developing software solutions. So, and the other one was to obviously give some sort of a income mode for some of the undergraduates, so that they can live on their own while they're studying at the university without having to depend on their families anymore. So with these objectives in mind, we started the startup back in 2017, and now at present we have about close to 50 employees working with us, and in the next couple of weeks there'll be a huge expansion as well, which is planned in the next couple of weeks. So with all that, now we have the journey that we've started back in 2017 has become really enjoyable, and what we're doing now is has become really exciting, and it's starting to get on a pretty good roll. So when we were actually starting initially, it was a lot of learning. It was really difficult, you can say, but it's all about having your passion, having your desire, and being consistent, and always being there, not looking back at your decisions. And it's all about talking to other people, getting their opinion, reading a lot, and seeing where you can improve, and trying to establish a business process that is sustainable. So these things I will discuss in the latter slides as well, on how you can develop your idea into becoming a viable business idea as well. So so if I there's one more thing to share about the startup. So initially when I started the startup, one of the other ideas that I had was to bring out products. So whatever the ideas that I had, I wanted to bring them out as products and services and give them out to the market. But what the biggest problem that I faced back then was the money. So if I'm going to build the product, I'll have to pay the employees, and that means I'll have to bear a huge cost. So at that particular moment, what we decided, the strategy that we decided was to bootstrap. So what I mean by the word bootstrap is, I decided that we need to provide services and get some income and use that income in order to develop products. So that is the strategy that I followed from 2017. So we started off with the first project that we actually started working on was just 8,000 rupees. It was a simple website, if I recall correctly. And from there, we've been doing multiple different client projects, and then earning income and using that funds to develop our own product line. So now we are at a particular moment where we have more than sufficient funds to enough funds to support any project or idea that I can think of. So if I come up with a new idea that I really think is really worth investing in, I have a team, I have resources, and I have funds as well to get that done. So it was a huge journey. I think it's been more than 4 years now to come up to this particular place. So that has been how I started off with hackathons, to awards, and to building my own startup. So throughout this academic life, another thing that Dr. Lasit mentioned was also really important, that I made sure that while I was engaged in all these extracurricular activities, that I was focused on building an academic career profile for myself as well, because that is where you get a lot of different contacts, and that is how you can get the reputation and the experience and the recognition for yourself, and thereby for your company to grow and grow big in the future. So I made sure that while I was engaged in all these extracurricular activities, I would make sure I made sure that my degree, that my undergraduate degree, I've done, I made sure that I achieved the best I can with my undergraduate degree in such a way that I was able to secure a fully funded scholarship directly to a PhD in the UK at Queen's University of Belfast. So it's about, managing a lot of different things. You have to manage your academic profile, you have to manage your company, you have to manage your studies, you have to manage everything together to become, and it's going to be exciting, it's going to be busy, but still if you manage your time well, it's going to be a really rewarding journey. So, right. So next thing is, let's discuss what a hackathon is and what are the different experiences you can have at a hackathon and some examples, and what are the differences between hackathons and startup battles, right? So some of the types are, one of the easiest or one of the most traditional forms of hackathons are coding hackathons, which are hackathons like, you're given a set of problems, 12 hours or 24 hours, it could be more than that as well. And there are data structures and algorithm sort of problems that is supposed to solve in an optimum manner to cover most or all of the test cases to score and win the competition. So that sort of a competition is referred to as a coding hackathon. And then we have something called what we'll go back to designathon. That is what DHack is about. So designathon is the sort of a competition where you come up with an idea, and this idea, if it's shortlisted, if you have a viable business models, if it's sustainable, if it's feasible, then you'll get shortlisted, and then you'll have a 12-hour, 24-hour or more overnight hackathon or a hackathon where you will be able to design this whole solution and propose a prototype for this whole idea. And the next extension of the same sort of hackathon is a normal overnight hackathon where you convert it into a minimum viable product, MVP. So you build a minimum viable product and you pitch to the judges that your idea is working. If it's an app, you build that. If it's an IoT product, if it's a hardware product, you build it to embed it, and you show that it works, that your idea works through a minimum viable product. And then you'll be crowned winners. And then another different sort of hackathon type we have is startup battles, where they look to help you convert your idea into a startup itself, right? So that is another sort of a hackathon. Another sort of a hackathon that is there out there are startup battles. So what happens in startup battle is you need to have an idea, you need to have an MVP, and you need to have a feasible business model. And if you're going to look, if you're planning to win this, you need to have some sort of a client base as well. That means a revenue model that is happening. I mean, that where you have already earned a little bit of a revenue as well. And then thereby you compete in this to win some seed funding to boost your business, right? So, at each of these different types of hackathons out there, you can get a completely different sort of experience, but with some common experiences as well, which is with regard to the business model, feasibility analysis, sustainability, right, revenue planning, and all these different things. So some examples for the first coding level hackathons. One of the examples could be the IEEE Extreme competition, which is the international level competition that is happening within the IEEE community. And if you look at designathons, we have the DHack that you do here. And one of the most famous designathons that are out there is the hackathon designathon organized by Slit Code Fest. Under Slit Code Fest, there's a designathon. And if you look at overnight hackathons, the most famous hackathons were HackX, iHack, and then there's another one at Columbia University, which is called CloudHack. And likewise, there are a lot of different hackathons. And then if you look at startup battles, one of the biggest startup battles organized by at undergraduate level is done by IIT. It's called, what is it called? It's called, so there's this one competition code? No. So there's this hackathon organized by the IEEE at IIT, which is the biggest sort of a startup battle undergraduate level. But if you look at national level startup battles, there is IEEE Innovation Nation, which is the national level sort of a competition for startups. And so, it's all about looking out for what is happening out there, because hackathons are not just organized by universities, it could be organized by a national level entity. So keep an eye out to what are the competitions out there, and apply, get experience. And the more experience you get, you will be more refined, more defined, so that you can compete better and smarter and be more challenging at national level competition, as well as be even more competitive at international competition, right? So far, any questions that you all have, you all can just put just put it up on the chat, and or if it's all good, we can keep on, we can continue, right? Right, okay. So if you all have any questions, if you all want anything, we haven't come to that section yet, but if there's anything so far that you all need any clarification, if you all have any questions, you all can ask them on the chat, or unmute and ask them directly from me, right? So the next big question that we are going to work on, where we can start discussing, is this: how are you going to select your team, your hackathon team? So now there are some important things here, right? So when you're selecting the hackathon team, try best not to select a team out of the closest friends you have at the university. That might work to a certain extent, but you have to think through, you have to think about the future, and then select your hackathon team. Because this hackathon team that you're going to start your competition journey with could be your startup founding team. It could be the team with whom you will be dealing with for the rest of your life as well. This could be, the selection of the team could be the turning point of your whole life, right? So you could become an entrepreneur, right? You could become you'll have your own employees one day. So this is the first step in which you're going to start changing or start defining your life, right? So therefore this step is really, really important. Now, if you look at a normal hack, if you look at the perfect composition for a team, right? You need somebody who will be a leader, right? A leader who can manage everything, think through everything, plan ahead, and really is really active, really proactive as well. Before something happens, you have to be ready for that, right? Be active and be proactive, rather than being a leader who's just reactive, right? And then you need to have a proactive leader, and who's very, very good in communication side, right? Pretty good in handling language, English as a language, and then really good, need to have really good presentation skills, pitching skills, right? And need to have innovative sort of a mind, as well as a entrepreneurial mindset. So those would be some of the things that you need to look out for in a leader. But at this undergraduate level, you might not know whether that person might have all those skills. So what you can do is, right, is that you can take somebody who has most of these skills. Some of the things that I've seen is, if somebody is pretty good with English and the presentation skills are pretty good, that person definitely will be, most probably will be a pretty good leader, right? And then the next thing is, once you have a leader, the next thing that you need to look into is a tech person. That means somebody who can make things happen, right? So that means, if it's just a design intern, a person who can just design would be fine. But you have to look ahead into the future. can this person who designs also develop this into a minimal viable product? Then that would be the ideal case, right? So you need to have a super designer in your team. If this design skill is with the leader, that's super perfect, right? You need to have a super design in the team as well, because the presentations, they need to look sleek, they need to be organized as well, right? And then now look, if you look at okay, let's keep that leadership aside. Then the next point is the tech person. So try to have a person who can make this into a product. So it can be at the moment at your department. Development side might not be the best case, but I've seen some exceptional developers from your department. So if your team can have some sort of a person who can develop your ideas into a product, definitely have him on board as well. So if he's passionate enough about development, learning new things on his own, self-learning, that is the sort of a person that you want as the tech guy in your team. And then you need somebody, so those are the set of skills that you need to get this out. And then the other person is somebody who'll do market research, branding, marketing, do business analysis, business analysis in the terms of requirement gathering, identify potential markets, do the numbers, crunch work, right? And then comes up with, vital information, vital intel for the company to get kick-started, right? So these are really important, right? English skills, presentation skills, design skills, development skills, right? So those are the key things that you will need to look into when you're forming your team, right? So this team could be a turning point in your whole life. So make sure that you do this in a proper manner, right? So I have a question on the chat, which I'll answer after this particular section, right? So do you have any questions with regard to how to select your team, right? Another method is, now if you can't find a development team internally, another thing is, another path that you can follow is, you can have a super idea, right? And you need to look into this question that the person has asked, is seed funding, right? So I'll link the question to this slide as well. So you can look, so if your idea is really amazing, if it has a really good business model, if it's sustainable, if it's feasible, and if you can pitch that idea to an investor within 30 seconds, there's a high chance that you can get seed funding for your business. So here in Sri Lanka, we have this IT industry, this startup industry has been booming over the last 3 to 4 years. There are so many seed funders out there, investors out there, angel funders out there, right? So it's all about creating a viable business model and approaching them correctly. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the programs that are out there. Slash.com, they have a program called Spiralation, which gives you 1 million, right? They don't take equity in your company. They just give you 1 million to, not Slash.com, it's ITA, right? ITA Spiralation, which gives you 1 million just to, just for your business to get started. They will give you guidance. There'll be workshops to attend to, and another pretty similar one, which is done by John Keel's Holdings, is John Keel's X. Here they give you 2.5 million rupees, but they take some equity, I think about 5% of equity from your company, and they give you 2.5 million initially, and then they'll give you 50 million, that is 500,000. Not 500,000, it's 500 lakhs or 50 million rupees for your business to expand afterwards, right? And then there are investors at Slash.com, and then there's something called there's something called Startup Healthcare, which is with ICTA and all these other different partners who can help you get seed funding to your business. So, and these are just the local ones. Recently, Sri Lanka has been, a spot to winning so much of international seed funding opportunities. That means the investors are from foreign companies. They'll pump in dollars to your company to bring this out as a viable to get the minimum viable product out, to get your first business sale. So some companies that have been doing really well in that particular seed funding aspect, we have Arimac, who's been doing really well in that aspect, as well as we have ODOC. So ODOC have been receiving international funding as well to get their business up, to keep it up and running as well. Right. So there are so many different opportunities in Sri Lanka as well as internationally to get this. But to go there, I think you need to get your experiences in order, go through hackathons, go through competitions, learn how to pitch, right? So, and then just learn, and then once you're ready, go ahead, go in front of an investor. So from my personal belief, just my idea regarding this whole thing, seed investors, I believe that I don't want to give any equity of my company to anybody else until otherwise there's a daring reason for me to do that. Until such point, personally, I think if I can bootstrap, if I can raise the funds internally at my company itself, then I should be able to fund those projects. But definitely, if you get some seed funding, that's going to definitely be amazing. It's going to be a real help for you to kickstart or to accelerate your startup's growth, right? Doing bootstrapping and developing a business product idea, it's going to take a long time and it's going to be difficult, right? And but if you're going to get some seed funding, that's going to accelerate your business, and it's going to help you go out into the market within a short period of time, right? So I'll move on to the next slide. I have another question which I think I'll discuss in a little while. Okay, so the next part is the idea generation part. So this is really important, how we are going to generate your idea. So now it's like this. If you want to win, these are some of the points that you need to look at, and you should be able to rate on your own from a scale of 1 to 10, where your problem, your solution, your feasibility, model, and sustainability lies, right? Okay, now how to get an idea. So first, one of the easiest ways to get an idea is to look at a problem out there. So this problem could be a problem that you face. It could be a problem that you face. It could be a problem that somebody around you faces. It could be a problem a particular industry faces, right? Industry means, let's say, it could be a problem the apparel industry faces. It could be a problem, right? It could be a problem that that is not. It could be a problem, or it could not be a problem, but it could be an added value, added benefit that you can bring on top, right? So let's say you spend so much time on doing a particular task, but if you have this idea, you'll be able to make this effective and efficient, and thereby give some value addition on top of that. So the best way to get some idea, right? The best way to get some idea is to have a meeting with your team, let them throw in ideas, and you can look at the problem. So the way you're going to evaluate the problem is, now you need to put a number between 1 to 10 on how big of a problem this is. What's the impact of this problem, right? So now if you want to, let's say you have decided on what the problem is. So this is the problem. Now you need to put a value from 1 to 10, 10 being this is a big problem, 1 being this is not that much of a big problem, right? So if your problem, so the way you're going to do this analysis is, now you need to look at what is your target audience. How many of the people, so let's say you're targeting the Sri Lankan population. Out of the Sri Lankan population, if you're targeting everybody above 18 years of age, you know how much is the population. Now you need to calculate, out of this target audience, how many of the people are actually facing this problem, right? That is the number that you need to look into, right? When you're deciding how big of a problem this is, right? And the next thing is, how many of this, what is the population out of that who will be willing to pay in order to get your solution, right? So you look at these numbers and then decide how impactful of a problem are you trying to solve here. Now, once that is done, once you have the problem, you can design a solution, right? So once you're designing the solution, make sure that you try to address the initial problem that you thought of, while also trying to give in some add-ons, some value additions on how you can further, right? On how you can further expand, your idea into different pathways as well, because that would then be helpful for you sometimes to expand on your business model as well. Now, the next thing is feasibility. How feasible is it to operate this business in real time? Do you need so much? Do you need 1,000 staff members? Do you need a lot of budget to do this? Right? Is the profit enough? Right? To make this a complete viable product. So to make this feasible, to decide whether this is feasible, another thing that you need is the business model. So when you're looking at the business model, I'll come back to feasibility in a while, and I'll come back to sustainability as well. So everything depends on the business model. So now, if you look at a business model, you might be thinking about just selling a product and getting an income. That is, it's called B2C sort of a business to customer directly. So your idea, it could be a B2B sort of a business. So it could even have B2B as well as B2C. That means you sell your solution to another business, and that business will use your solution to give a service to another consumer. That is called B2B2C sort of solution, right? So your idea, you can have B2B customers as well as B2C customers, as well as B2B2C customers. So you need to decide how your business model is going to be done in such a way that it's properly addressed. Now, when you're creating a business model, another thing that you need to look at is the fact about feasibility and sustainability. Now, if there could be one-time payments, or you call them as one-off payments. That means to use your idea, you get a initial amount of, let's say, 100,000 rupees. So let's say 1,000 rupees. So the person or the customer purchases your product for 1,000 rupees, and that's going to be the end of that customer, right? If that is the case, and if you have recurring expenses, let's say you're going to host this on a server, that means for that customer to provide that service for a longer period of time, you have to bear an expense. So in that sort of a scenario, one-off payments are not going to work. So then you will have to move on to a subscription plan. So when you look at a subscription plan, it could be monthly basis or it could be yearly basis. Another thing is, when it comes to this, deciding whether it's going to be monthly or yearly, how you're going to decide the prices, you need to look at, if it's monthly, you can give about 12, let's say 120 rupees per month. But if you purchase for 1 year ahead, the cost will be just 100 per month. That is just, you can give a discount if they're going to purchase for the whole year ahead, right? So likewise, you can make the customer pay for the whole year without paying for just one month. So when you're creating the business model, try to incorporate this marketing gimmicks as well into your business model. So there are subscription models. Subscription models are basically the aspects where they pay on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, right? And then there's one-time payments as well, right? So those are some different things that you can look into. So look at how you can analyze B2B, B2C. So if it's B2B and if it's B2B2C, the way you are going to decide your business model is, now if you give your solution to that particular business, and if that business is going to give to their customer, how much of income how much of a profit is your customer, the second B is earning. Based on that, you can decide on a percentage and then thereby decide what is your pricing scale, right? So once you decide on all these different things, feasibility and sustainability comes into play. Now, once you're stabilized, can you balance your expenses, running expenses of your company, right? Employees, office spaces, whatnot, can you cover that using the profit that you get from this solution? So if that is the case, if you can reach a break-even point and keep it in keep a positive cash flow throughout your business, then that business will be sustainable. But if your expenses are too high, and if you just to keep your business afloat, if you need so much of external funding, that is not going to be a sustainable business model, right? So if you, so trying to make the business a sustainable business model, if you increase your business pricing packages, then again you might lose your customers as well. You have to give a competitive pricing plan to what the benefit that you offer to these to your customers, right? So feasibility is feasible in terms of business wise as well as feasible to implement it. So if you have a problem, if you have an idea or a solution, and if it's impossible to develop that into a working product, then your idea is not going to be feasible, right? If the technology of the world is not sufficient enough at this current moment to make it happen, then your idea is not going to be feasible. And if you want to invest so much of time, resources into research and development to get that cutting edge technology, you might have to look into a lot of investments and then thereby come out at a later date, right? So let's see. Right. So I'll go to the question, right? So the question is, what is the cheapest and the most effective marketing strategy to approach international clients as a startup company which has been in the local market for a few years? So to answer this question, I'll need to know what sort of a startup this is, right? Depending on that, I'll be able to help you answer this question. So what sort of a startup are you talking about? It could be, if it's apparel, if you're a clothing brand, it could be different. If it's a software company, it's going to be different. Okay. So right. So if it's a software company and if you want to reach international clients, the number one thing is you need a solid portfolio, right? You need a solid portfolio. That means of your previous work done and the quality of the work that you've done, right? That's the number one thing that you need to look into. So if you have few years of experience in the local market, that means definitely you do have a portfolio. So you need to make sure that your portfolio is solid and prepared in a pretty good manner. And if it's a software company, some of the things that most of the companies do, right? Startups, they do. We don't do this at our startup, but some things that they do is, you register. There are some platforms online, right? There's things called, Fiverr is there. We have Upwork, right? We have, so in each of the different countries that you want to focus, there are different platforms where they connect customers and these software agencies, right? So what happens is you come on board a software, on board a platform, you register your company, you publish your portfolio there, and customers will be posting what are the projects they have, and you can bid for these projects. You can put quotations ahead for these projects, and there'll be interview schedules where you'll be able to discuss with them, right? Discuss with them on how to do this project. You can ask questions, submit your proposals, and once these proposals are confirmed, you can get to work, right? So that would be one of the easiest methods. Not one of the easiest, it's still challenging, but if you've been running a startup for a couple of years, obviously you know that you have to be consistent, and that would be one way to actually get your startup to the international stage, right? So another difficult method would be blind marketing. So what blind marketing is, this is a strategy that we are going to start at our startup as well in the couple of next couple of weeks. So blind marketing is where we write to potential customers, right? We find out what their email addresses are. Different companies out there, we take out their email addresses, and we look at what are the software solutions they already have and what are the lacking points in the software solutions, and we send emails out to them are saying that this software can be improved in this manner. Have a look at our portfolio. We can get this done for you. If you want a detailed analysis on how these things can be done, please contact us, right? So you can write blind market emails and get leads to improve your business as well to the international market. So those are some methods that you can do. But something that I've been so far for the last 4 years, we have been majorly within. We have done a couple of international projects, in USA, Japan, and Australia. But other than that, our major focus has been to target the local market in Sri Lanka. So at the moment, the local market in Sri Lanka, it has a huge gap. It has a huge potential for you to grow in. Sri Lanka is adapting to this digitization phase. So if you look at ICTA, you can see that even the government aspects, everything is being digitized. ICTA is recruiting so many employees just to digitize that aspect. The digital payment market is expanding in Sri Lanka. All the companies, they want to onboard customers online. They want to manage everything online through portals. So the traditional office sort of a mechanism to handle business is fast fading in Sri Lanka. So there's a huge market out there within the local market to do this. And I personally believe, as a startup in Sri Lanka, looking at the economy of the country, I look at two different things. The number one thing that I look at is how I can make sure that my company provides international grade software solution to my local customers so that they have state-of-the-art technologies and solutions, right? While them not having to spend so much of dollars, which will be going out of the country. I want to make sure that my customers don't pay thousands and millions of dollars to other companies outside, right? I want to make sure that they keep those dollars within the country itself and pay us as a local provider and provide the same quality experience or even more through our solutions to them, right? That's number one. Try our best to make sure that the dollar outflow from the country is limited or restricted, or we contribute in such a way that it's reduced. Number two contribution is we look at how we can bring foreign revenue in to the country and thereby contribute to the growth of the foreign revenue within the country. So over the last 4 years, that is something that we have. The first strategy is what we have been following. But now from next week's announcement, we'll be looking into the second aspect as well. All right. So it takes a lot of time. So if you want to land major clients, running clients, that means, running clients means not just a one-off project, right? It will be, you'll be developing everything for that particular company. So the way we have succeeded within Sri Lanka is, at the moment, Econ Labs Private Limited, we build all the software solutions for the whole Janashakti group of companies. That's just one of the group companies we have at the moment. So we have a couple of more as well. So the Janashakti group of companies has Janashakti Life, First Capital, Kelsey Homes, right? So all of these companies, all the software solutions are designed and developed internally at Econ Labs. So there is continuous work that is happening throughout, and that's how it's been made sustainable, right? So if you want to find a similar customer from abroad, from the international market, you need to have a solid profile, and you need to have reputable credentials behind you as well. And you need to have a team, right, which have really great experience, years and years of experience, so that you should be able to show their CVs, their profiles as well to your potential clients. So it will take a couple of years for you to build that from scratch within your startup. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Ikram. So coming back to our session today, right? So idea generation, once you have your team, idea generation will be the most important aspect of it. So the more competitions that you take part, you can see what are the ideas different people are having. And based on that, you'll learn about different monetization techniques, how to tweak your idea in such a way that it's sustainable, right? And then the design attempt challenge for you. So when it's a design attempt challenge like DHack, there are some important facts that you need to look into when you are actually doing a design attempt challenge. One is you need to design this app. I think I just checked your Facebook page. I think you all have had a session on Adobe XD. So that means you know how to do rapid prototyping. You have done UI UX sessions as well. So now you know how to design user experience flows, UI flows, wireframing, mockups, right? So with all that, in a design, the most important aspect is the coverage. How many different user experience flows can you cover? How many UI flows can you cover? What sort of a UX? So going back, clicking on a back button, making a mistake, how you can correct it, forget password, reset password, right? How well you have thought of this problem, how well have you thought of this solution, how well have you thought about the marketing and business model aspects, and how you have incorporated all that into building a prototype which covers everything. So the more you have done that, the higher chance you will have at winning your DHack competition, right? So make sure you think of all the different business all the possible business models that you can adopt, and then thereby what is the most ideal one for you and your customer, and then decide upon that, right? So what else do we have? So if there's any other questions regarding this point about team selection ideas, we'll try to do a little bit of a brainstorming as well on a particular domain. We have an idea on how we will discuss. We'll have a discussion on that a little bit later. Until then, if you have any questions, and Ikram, I hope that I answered your question. So if you have anything else to add on to that, you can ask away as well. And if anybody else have any questions, make sure to ask them right away on your chat. So some questions that you can ask is about the team formations, idea generation, idea validation, right? And then business models, revenue models, monetization techniques, right? So if it's a mobile app, right? Now let's talk about a mobile app. So if it's a mobile app, there could be in-app purchases. You can give a freemium model. That means you give the application free of charge to get the basic features, basic, but still people will download it just to use that feature. That sort of a feature, and you give it for free. And you then what you do is you give value additions, add-ons, or paid subscriptions to get more benefits out of it, right? So that could be another method. Now, when you're doing a design challenge, another thing is if there are payment gateways involved, when you're designing it, you have to make sure you adhere to standards, guidelines, and protocols established out there within the Sri Lankan law. And if it's international one, outside in the MasterCard policies, the Visa policies as well, right? So have a look at those as well when you're doing a design attempt, right? For example, you can't store your any details of credit cards on your phone, on your local phone, mobile databases, or in any of your servers as well without proper protocols and standards in security practices in place, which will be a really expensive thing to get done as well. Okay, and what else do we have? Any questions, or shall we go into a if there's no questions and no other questions, we can have a look at a problem domain and continue. Okay, so rapid prototyping. So Adobe XD, I think you'll have done a session on that, where you all know how to do rapid prototyping as well. So rapid prototyping is an essential step throughout the development cycle. So at my startup as well, we follow the full agile development framework. We have we have sprints. Even in sprints, we have phases, and in these phases, we follow after the requirement gathering, after the system analysis documents and the requirement SRS documents are prepared. It will be handed over to the UI UX team. along with the business analyst team, they will work on designing the wireframes and the UI interfaces, which will then be approved by the client before it's been moved on to the development team. And then it will be moved on to the QA team. And then it finally will be used for user acceptance testing at the client's end as well. Right? So rapid prototyping has been made really easy using Adobe XD. And I think most of the features that you need to get done at this particular moment are free still. Initially, when Adobe XD came, everything was free. But now recently they have restricted a lot of features that are really helpful. So sometimes if you want to get all those features, you might have to get a subscription, which might be not the way to go forward at this particular moment. Right. So then what else do we have? So we have another tool called Figma, right? In addition to Adobe XD, another online tool called Figma. So those are the Adobe XD and Figma are basically the two most widely used tools or software for rapid prototyping, UI UX designing, experience designing, right? So this comparison will help you create a project and do designing, and you'll be able to put this on your CV when you're applying for jobs as well. And this will be really helpful for you when you face an interview, right? And then what else do we have, right? So these are basically rapid prototyping essentials step, and it will help you determine what are the loopholes, what are the issues that are there. So you can play around, click on the buttons, feel, okay, now I'm going to do this, now I click on this, then where I'm going to be taken, what if something happens here, can I go back, right? These are things that you can definitely look into, right? So before I finish off, let's look at this question from last time, right? That we had a theme for DHack. So let's try to see what are the ideas that you'll have in this particular domain, right? So the problem given says the industry and the university are two pillars that needs to be well connected and matched together, right? The industry requires competent graduates to be produced by the university. That means the IT industry, they want graduates to recruit who are competent enough, right? Competent enough to basically get on with their business job. They'll be able to adapt really fast to the relevant IT industry job specification. And the universities, they need their graduates to be well accepted by the industry. So universities, they always try to teach you whatever they can, have sessions like this, motivate to have competitions, right? Support and back you with these competitions and taking part in competitions as well, so that the graduates that they produce at the university will be well accepted by the IT industry. Now, a solution to, so you are supposed to give a solution to better facilitate both the parties. Something like a Tinder for industry and the university would come in handy for both parties. So if this is the problem domain, if this is the challenge that has been given to you, what is the problem that you can identify regarding this domain, and what sort of a solution can you come up with? So I'll give you a little bit of a few minutes for you all to think out and put some ideas on the chat on how you think that you can get this done, right? And then we'll see how we can design a solution, how we can design a business model, and how we can ensure whether it's sustainable or whether it's feasible to get done. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. In the meantime, what was the degree you followed at the Jaipur University? So I was from the science faculty. I'm from the Department of Computer Science. So the degree was Bachelor of Science in Computer Science honors degree. So it was a 4-year degree at the Department of Computer Science. So I'll give you all a few minutes and then we'll see what are the ideas you all have. So if nobody is going to put up any ideas on the chat, I'll be calling out names from anybody who doesn't have OC in front of their name or doctor in front of their name. Okay, right. So so let's get ready with some ideas. So now I'll help you all think as well. We'll try to develop this idea together. Now it says the domain. So the domain I'm going to look at is the industries. Now, if you look at the industry from the industry's perspective, you know, this industry, they want to recruit. Now, if you look at the companies right now, I think 99X has a lot of vacancies, about 100 plus vacancies. If you look at ADL, they have about 250 plus vacancies. Virtusa, they have vacancies at the moment. So these are some of the biggest companies that have a lot of vacancies at the moment. Now, there is a huge gap in the industry for competent graduates. Now, these national universities, they produce graduates. There are a lot of private universities which produce graduates. But at the end of the day, once you face an interview, they'll select you based on not just your degree. You need to have a degree most of the times, but sometimes some companies, they don't consider your degree as well. But most of them in Sri Lanka, they do still. So having a degree is, yeah, that's one thing. And then everything else will be based on your soft skills, thinking skills, your analytical skills, right? So that is because of that, you know, the industries, they want to recruit fast. So if they have, so the meaning that they have vacancies means these companies, they have some big upcoming projects. So that means they'll need to get them started soon. So they need to recruit soon and train them to their company standards. Now, when that happens, if there's a huge gap, the industry, the companies will face a lot of different problems, right? And therefore, that will not be good for them. So they want to get competent graduates in directly, so that they can cut their training costs. Now, when you join as a trainee graduate, trainee when you're doing internship, that internship you will be given allowance, but that is not the biggest investment the company is making on you. They are putting you through a rapid training program where you will be learning on how to apply everything that you learned at the university in a practical aspect. So they'll be investing a lot of time, money, and effort in trying to make sure that the intern turns out to become a valuable employee at their company. So that is another expense the industry will be facing. So we are looking at what the problems, where we can try to help improve the industry's problems, right? Now, if you look at the universities, right, something that the universities boast about, right, internationally and in Sri Lanka, is the graduate employability. What sort of a percentage of the graduates are being directly employed as soon as their degrees are completed? So this percentage is something the universities, the departments, the faculties are fighting for and trying their best to improve. Right now, the two parties, the industry and the university. So those are the two entities. How can we connect these two together in such a way that both the parties are satisfied? How can we do that? So do you have any ideas? So now we've talked about the different opportunities where we can try to get this done. So if you all have any ideas, we can have a discussion on that, right? So if you all have any ideas, you can drop on the chat. Or if you have an idea, just say you have an idea, we can have a discussion. You know, I think that would be better. Let me also think of an idea just in case you all don't come up with anything. And even if I ask names, if you all don't have any ideas, but if you all don't have any ideas, DHack competition, that's going to be not going to be easy, right? Let's see, let's think of an idea. Okay, I'm getting an idea. Let's see. Okay, I have an idea. Okay. So anybody have any ideas? Do you all need more time? Okay, we have Iranta. Yeah, let's go ahead, Iranta. What's up? What's your idea?
Yes, sir. Am I loud and clear?
Yes.
Right. I think this is already going on the market. This is not my dream idea. So SLASCOM has already started a student skill program, something like industrial specialists came to an stage that undergraduates and other professionals can get some ideas and knowledge. I think through that kind of platforms, these pillars can be connected and meshed together, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, let's say if I can get some ideas about agility and other methods that work on the IT industry, we can call some industrial specialists from PwC and ask them to give some explanation and other clarifications regarding those to undergraduates and professionals who are seeking to get some jobs after their graduations, something like that, sir.
So how is this a business idea? How can you turn it into a business? What's your idea regarding that? How can you make this a business? The idea to solve this problem in terms of a business.
Yes, at the I'm not very sure this is going to be a good business idea, but let me say, at the first phase, we can invite and ask every professionals or graduates, undergraduates, and all the graduates who need to enhance their skills through online platform, so they can come up to this website what we are going to build, that what I have already explained, and we can give some space to get some courses by paid, and they can pay some courses, and once they have done, they get the certificate that which is accepted by the industry, something like that, sir.
Yeah, I think let's now I have another idea we'll discuss later on, but your idea let's discuss a little bit more. Okay. Now what you've said, now I was listening to what you were saying and I was thinking about it. Now look at what I'm proposing. Okay. This same SIS platform, let's call it a platform, right? It could be web, it could be mobile, I don't really mind. Now from each of these companies, what they're going to do is, right, from the industry's perspective, what they'll do is they'll register as an organization on this platform. Let's say my startup is going to register as well. That means what I'm going to do from that perspective, by registering, I mean that I'm ready to provide my support, my resources, as well as I'm looking forward, as in return, to recruit employees or train or employees from this pool to my company as well. So that is from the industry's perspective. I'm going to give something to this platform, and I'm going to get something back in return through employees, as employees. From the university side, what they can do is universities can register to this platform for their specific degree programs and enroll their students on this platform. Now, once they enroll their students on this platform, now there'll be, in between there'll be, sessions organized. There could be, now each of these employees, they'll have to, these undergraduates will be registered on this platform. Like you said, there could be guest sessions, talks organized on different topics, right, that they'll have to attend to in order to complete their participation within this sort of training program, online training program. Now, once they take part in these training programs, and like you said, there could be courses as well, which they can take part in. Now, if it's a course, if it's a seminar, these can be conducted by the partnering or the registered companies on this platform. Now they'll be doing now. So now let's take one undergraduate. That undergraduate will at the end of the this program will go through 5 courses and 10 sessions. So in these 10 sessions, one course can be created by one company and the same company can do a session as well. But if they recruit that employee, if they recruit that undergraduate as employee, they have actually spent less resources and actually gotten an undergraduate or a graduate who has actually completed 10 sessions and 5 courses as well. So then there's some value addition to these corporates as well through their resource sharing agreement. Now, okay, so this is how we can actually connect there's the problem, and then there's the how you can connect it. Now that is how you can connect. Now you have to think about how you can actually make it a business model which can be marketed, right? Now degree programs at universities, they can actually create these programs at state universities, and now we need to think about how we can create a business model. So are we going to charge undergraduates or universities, or are we going to charge the industries for this basic service that we are going to provide, or are we going to do something else? Now look at this. Now, personally, I think if you're going to charge, now if you charge the industries, they provide some resources in, they get a value addition, and that's why they'll register onto this platform. If it's universities, the reason why they'll register these students to the via degree programs is to help ensure that their employability rates are high, and that they at the end of the degree they can directly from the platform itself apply to these companies, and they'll be highly recognized at the moment of recruitment. Now both of them have benefits. Now if you one method you can do is for each undergraduate registered, you can charge something. Another approach is for every company that makes a recruitment out of this platform, you can charge something as well from the company, from the IT industry. Those are two things that you can do, but I'm not recommending that anyhow. So what I'm doing here, right, is what I suggest, what I feel like is, since this is a operation platform which doesn't have a high recurring expense, it's an online platform, it doesn't have huge staff expenses and all these different things. What I would think for such a solution is give it for free to both the students as well as both industries, and then give some value additions on top of this. What are the value additions that you can do here is, right, so the employee, right, they will get access. So for the undergraduate, once they're applying, you can give them the chance to prepare their CV online through the platform itself and apply for these companies. That's a value addition that they can pay for. And then the next thing is for industries, companies, you can give a value addition where the whole interview process of applying, calling for interviews, online tests, everything will be facilitated through the platform itself. And if there's a successful applicant through the whole process, they can actually pay a little bit to get them on board. Another method is, if the student, now let's say there are infinite number of companies out there. Another business model that you can think of for this particular example is, right, you can if this there are infinite number of companies, but only let's say 500 companies are registered on the platform. But you have completed this course and you want to apply to a company that is outside this 500. Now what this undergraduate can do is he can request for a certification, right, which can be paid and received by the undergraduate. And this can be presented to any other external industry or company as a valid proof for the training program that has been received. Okay, so for your idea, I think this would be something that you can look into as a business model, right? Right. So any other ideas that you all have? Or if you will have any suggestions to improve what we've been talking, what Iranta's idea, and then how we've improved my suggestions for improvement. And if you have anything else to add on top of that, we can discuss that. Or if you have any other sort of an idea, we can discuss that as well.
Yes, I have another question.
Yes.
So when it's come to the pricing model, how it is going in the IT industry? Are we going to the competitive price, or is there a specific price model that we have to follow up?
There are two things to consider. Yeah, there are two things to consider. What's your recurring expense? How much of expense do you have? That you need to first calculate. And the next thing is you need to do a competitive analysis about what are the solutions out there which are similar to yours. And you get, what you do is you list down all the features and what's the price that competitor is offering for this set of price packages. Then what you do is you list down your features and then you compare these two and see whether you provide more features or less features. If it's less features, obviously you can decrease the price. And if you have more features, then you can decide whether you are going to increase the price a little bit or decrease it a little bit compared with your expenses, that is ongoing expenses, right? If your expenses are high, then you obviously you won't be able to reduce it based on that. So you have to identify in the first year how many customers you want. In the second year, how many customers in the monthly wise, quarterly wise, you have to plan, and then decide on the expense. Because with the number of customers, your expenses might grow, as well as therefore your income might grow. Can you actually balance these two out? You have to do that calculation and then decide on the pricing scale. So competitive pricing is definitely something that you can look into if you have a similar competitor. But if this is a completely novel idea, and if this is nowhere out there, then the best thing that you can do is to look at your cost, profit margin, and then come up with a solution. And in that sort of a mechanism, default subscription plans would not be the best way, because if customer A wants to purchase it, is going to purchase it at 100 rupees, and later on you think that it's not enough, you're going to charge the next customer 200 rupees. The first customer will forever be paying 100 rupees, right? And if it's the other way around, if they paid 100 rupees, and if that is too much, if you reduce the price to 50 rupees, the first customer who paid a little bit more, that's too much. That's an unfair expense for that particular customer. So in that particular sort of a scenario, the best would be, on-spot payments for different value additions that you can do, right? For 1 year, this much. So next year onwards, it could be reduced. That is okay. Right? So does that answer your question, Ranta, or do you want to discuss that a little bit more?
Yes, that's enough, sir. Thank you.
Okay, right. Anything else? Anybody wants to ask, Ed? So we had only 2 questions from Iranta and Ikram. I think if they are asking questions, that means they are really good entrepreneurs. They are curious. So we have 2 people already from your department who will probably most definitely make a change out there. Iranta and Ikram, they were forward enough to take the first step. So if you're becoming an innovator, if you're becoming an entrepreneur, you need to ask questions. You need to be curious, right? So while I'm talking about all these different things, if you came across any different new words, you note them down on your mind on a piece of paper, do some research, go back, read what I really meant, try to do some background research and learn on your own as well. All right, so any other questions? So because that brings us to the end of the session. So if there's any questions, we can have a bit of a discussion. Any other ideas you have? So the idea that I was thinking for that particular problem was around, usually at degree programs, we have different projects that the students are supposed to undertake, right? So, and the industry, you can, have some sort of a link between those two in such a way that the projects could be defined in such a way that the company owns something the company owns, or a part of something company owns, or throughout the process of doing that project, there could be a mentor assigned from industry in order to make sure that sort of a linking between projects and universities and industries, right? That was basically the idea that I was thinking about at that particular moment, and I think the idea that Iranta gave is pretty good. And the idea that we discussed, it's not there, right? Slash.com, it doesn't have the same thing, right? It's just this workshop series that they have, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, but
Yeah,
they are at the initial level. They are not introduced in many courses, but some of them are really good.
Okay.
And it's an open source platform. Anyone of the IT industry or any undergraduates who are seeking or following IT in the courses and degrees can follow up.
Okay. So what's the name of that one? I'm not really sure what that is. What's the name of it?
It's slash.com.academy.lk. If I'm not just hold on a second.
Slash.com Academy.
Yes, sorry. So it's academy.slash.com.lk.
Right.
Academy.slash.com.lk.
Academy. Com.lk. Let's see if it is.
I just put the link to the chat, sir.
Okay, got it. Yeah. See, a lot of different things are happening. See, Slash.com is, like the IT BPM industries the association which is managing this. So that problem that I put on the slide, you can see how big of a problem that is, right? So that's why they have all these different things planned up. So any other questions you all have?
So I have another small question.
Yes.
Is there any specific place to get the knowledge about how to form a company or how to make a structure in our own company?
That's a really good question. Okay. Right, it's like this. So now one of the things that you might directly think of, right, is as soon as you get an idea, you don't need to register it. Okay. So that's the first thing. You don't really need to register it as soon as you have an idea. You need to work on it. And once you are ready to register it, incorporate it. And if your clients are, in some sort of, big clients, international clients, then of course you need to go for the registration. So when you are going for the registration, there's sole trader, there's partnership, and there's private limited, there is publicly traded companies, public limited companies. So the most you can go with sole trader, you can go with partnership, but what I would recommend is to go or start off with private limited companies. So private limited companies in Sri Lanka, once you decide to register it as a private limited company, it only costs about 25,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees. So if you go through a secretarial company, accounting sort of a secretary and accounting consulting firm, they'll provide you or help you or guide you through the registration process. They will get you your initial documents, right? The articles of association, memorandum, and all this different documentation will also be handled by them. And you will get the seals and the certificate of incorporation and all these different things to you. So then what happens is that is what happens in Sri Lanka. So what you can do there is that, and then if you have employees, you have to register with the labor department, and you have to, if there's tax returns, you have to open a VAT tax identifier file in Sri Lanka. That's what it's called, I think. And that will also, there'll be companies, the same company who helps you register your company will be able to help you get that done as well. Open the tax file, yeah. And so it depends. So in the IT industry, if your business is in the IT industry, at the moment, according to government rules, I didn't go through the budget proposal that was presented recently, but just before that, the taxes, there's no tax that you have to pay at the moment until a certain limit of profit. So that profit margin is pretty high, and until you reach that particular number, you don't really have to pay hefty taxes. That is there in Sri Lanka. And once you're forming a company, now the structure of the company, it could be a private limited, but inside that you need to have directors, and there'll be someone called a secretary. So secretary is basically the person who will be writing the minutes of the board of director meetings, because for every decision that you interact that you want to do with outside businesses, you need to have a minute of that particular board meeting. So if you want to open a bank account, you need to have a board of directors meeting and have the minutes certified and signed by the secretary, and then that has to be submitted to the bank, saying that the board of directors decided to open a bank at this particular bank for these purposes and to facilitate it, and this, then only you'll be able to open a bank account. Now, so one particular person is the secretary. So you can have your own secretary when you're opening a company, or you can have a certified trained secretary to that. Then in that case, you have to pay an annual fee to that secretarial company to that service. And the other one is directors. So directors, directors are basically shareholders. So I'm explaining this based on Sri Lankan formation, right? So shareholders who have a voting right will be automatically a director. So you can issue any amount of shares between them, and based on the number of total issued shares and the shares the particular director owns, that is the percentage of control that particular person will have, right? So if you want to have more control, you need to have more than 50%. That is, you need to have 51% control of your company to be the majority decider for the company, and the rest of it you can have it separated. Now, each company every year you can appoint somebody out of the directors. You can appoint somebody called the managing director for every year, right? You can have the same person every day for all the years, but you can even change it every year out of the board of directors. So the board of directors are supposed to have a meeting, discuss about who the next managing director for the next year is going to be, and you can appoint a managing director. So director and managing director and secretarial positions, it's not necessary to give them a salary, but you can offer a salary to these positions as well. And the biggest income revenue source for directors or shareholders is through dividend payments. So a dividend payment is once your company's fiscal year or financial year, right, is completed. After you pay your taxes and the remainder, you can, what you do is at the end of the fiscal year, you calculate your total profits, you pay the taxes, you have the remaining amount, you leave a portion of it for the next year as an investment, and then the rest of the part is going to be the dividend that is going to be distributed according to the percentages across the board of directors or the shareholders. So there could be non-executive director positions that you can appoint as well, who will not own a part of the shares, but will be a director within your director board, right? So when I started my startup, one of the questions is, did you issue shares? Yes, I had one co-founder, and I started off with 70% shares, and he had 30% of the shares. But now the shares has been re-updated, and I have 95% of the shares, and he has 5% of the shares. So every year, based on the performance of the co-founders, you can issue more shares, and then let's say now it's like this. So if you issue 100 shares initially between two co-founders, 50 shares to person A, shares to person B, and if after the first day, if the second co-founder disappears, you can have agreement saying that the next year, if only the person A works, based on the revenue return from that year, a certain amount of new shares can be issued. Now, let's say initially we had 50-50, a total of 100. Based on next year's performance, the board of directors decide that we are going to introduce new 100 shares to this company, and this new 100 shares can be assigned to director A because that is the person who actually got the business up and running. Now, what happens is initially 50%, 50%. Now, after the second year, he has 100, person A has 150 shares and person B has only 50 shares. Now, that means we have a scenario where now the percentages are 75% and 25%. So that is basically how we actually work with shares and make it running. Okay, so having more co-founders initially would benefit in number of different manners. So there could be different co-founders that you can look into. One is the way I wanted to do it was like this. I was basically the all-rounder. I do anything, coding, designing, presenting, pitching, anything I'll basically do. But I wanted a person to focus on the tech side of it, right? The development side of it in more depth. So my other co-founder was basically a tech-based co-founder. So that's how we both formed up our team, right? So now another method that you can look into when you're looking for co-founders is the best number is 2, right? The best number of co-founders per company, personally from what I've seen, is 2. If it's only you can actually make it work as well. I'm not saying no. But if you have more co-founders, you need to look at what is the value that they're actually bringing onto your company. Now, there could be the people who have the idea, but if they're not going, if they were in the initial ideation team and if they can't contribute to the company any other than that, anything more than that, having them on the co-founding team with shares issued might not be the best way to go. If you want to issue shares, make sure it's limited. The amount of shares that you're going to issue is limited as well. Controlled. Now, some people, they might have the idea. Some people can bring in money to your business. You have the idea, but somebody else is going to put some money in. Then in that position, you need to be able to give some shares for that particular monetary value of those shares. Now, the other thing that you can actually do here is another person might say, you have the idea, you have the cash, but I can give you office space. I'm not going to give you cash, but I'm going to give you my house in Colombo for free to run your business. Now, that is another way a shareholder can come into a company as well. Right, so there could be non-monetary inputs, there could be no monetary inputs, or there could be monetary share issued in your company as well. Now, these are things that these are really nice things, and according to these questions that you're asking, these are questions that I had from 2017 onwards. Now, I was from a science background, and I didn't really have a commerce, accounting, finance, business sort of a background, theoretical side. So everything that I've learned so far, I've read a lot, I've discussed with a lot of people, I've seen how other companies are running, and that's how I've gathered all the knowledge that I have so far. So all these questions that you all have are really good, because that means you're curious. Curiosity is all you need to become an entrepreneur, right? And your consistency. So does that answer the question, or do you want any other further clarification in any other aspect that you want covered? Or anybody else, if you all have any other questions, you might have any other questions as well. It doesn't have to be a software company, it could be your apparel company, because at the science faculty I see that there are two famous types of businesses by undergraduates at the science faculty. One is cakes, brownies, and those sweet sort of online selling, right? And the second most famous company that we have at the science faculty is apparel. I mean, that I was surprised to find this out as well. So there are a lot of baby clothing apparel companies for babies, targeting babies, right, and kids. So and what else? So those are basically the most famous sort of companies formed at the science faculty. I mean, most of them are founded by computer science students, it's not software company, it's the business side. So you all might have various different ideas out there as well. Because at the end of the day, the job market is there. You can go for a job. You can go for a huge company and join that large company and work for them, or you can even build on your own company, work in a startup, get all the experience, get that, be a leading person or a high management in a short span of time when that startup actually comes out of its shell to becoming a publicly traded company. Okay, so it's going to be it's really exciting to work in a startup. So any other questions, any other ideas you all want to talk about, we can do that if you all have anything to discuss. If there's no other questions, I think we've gone a lot over the time as well. So I hand it over to the organizing committee. And thank you very much, guys. And thank you especially to Ikram and I forgot his name, Iranta. Yeah, Iranta, for the wonderful questions and keeping this session interactive. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir, for your informative session. Hope you all got plenty of knowledge from this valuable session on effective project selection and proposal writing. On behalf of the organizing committee of DHack 2021, I sincerely thank Mr. Dulan Dias, sir, for joining us today, despite having a busy time and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. There is a small announcement. We have dropped the feedback form link to the chat box where you can provide your valuable feedback. With that, we are reaching the end point of today's workshop. Once again, Mr. Dulan Dias, sir, thank you very much for sharing your stories and experience with us. Moreover, Dr. Lasith Gunawardena, sir, thank you so much for contacting Mr. Dulan Dias for this workshop and giving your help and guidance to us. Your guidance is immense to all of us. I would like to thank our head of the department, Dr. Mahesh Fernando, and all our lecturers of the Department of Information Technology, University of Sri Jayawardenepura, for your help and guidance to succeed this event. Thank you guys for participating in this session and upgrading your competencies. So let me conclude the third workshop of DHack 2021. I wish you all a pleasant evening and stay safe.